Hello, everybody. I am here again today with a very interesting interview. I've got Dave Moor here with me. This is the first time that I'm speaking with Dave myself. It was one of my friends that saw a interview that I did a couple of weeks ago, and just was enjoying that interview and insisted that I have a look and listen to this guy, Dave Moore. And so I did a little bit of research into Dave Moore, and I looked at some of his content, and I was really fascinated by some of the stuff that he's done. Dave's an author, and he's a healer, and he travels around the world helping people, and he helps people by bringing people back into their most natural state. He brings the body into its natural state. What do you call it, Dave?
I call it body-centric health.
Body-centric health. And he's got a method and a system for that. And I wanted to talk to him a little bit about that and maybe share a little bit about what I'm doing and my methods. And so that I could compare notes with him a little bit. I know that he talked a little bit about breatharianism. I heard him talking about detoxification. I heard him talking about distilled water. I heard him talking about the mind-body connection. I heard him talking about anything is possible as long as you can conceptualize it in the mind. And all of this stuff was really fascinating. And I thought, hey, if somebody else is saying it, it's very valuable to me and for my network to hear it, because when I say it all the time, it can kind of sound like a broken record. But when you hear somebody from across the globe saying similar things, and we've never met before, Dave, and we've never spoken before, but we've arrived at a similar space, I think that's really huge and really important, really valuable, and something that I'm happy to have an opportunity to share the time with you today, Dave. Dave, where should we begin? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about kind of how you got into this, or where you got into this, and what you're doing, and us a little bit about your book and your method.
Okay, I guess 7 or 8 years ago, I was very sick. I kind of thought I was actually in good shape, but really when it came down to it, I was very sick. I was nearly 20 stone, which I guess is 285 odd pounds. And I had chronic asthma. I had back problems. I had high blood pressure. I had a damaged shoulder joint. I had pain up the back of my leg and nerve damage in my foot. I had a whole list of things that was wrong with me. And the medical system was actually just making things worse. Everything I tried just made things worse.
So common, Dave, so common.
So I embarked, yeah, it is very common. So I embarked on looking for some kind of alternative. And along that journey, I tried out lots and lots of different things. And nothing really seemed to do very much. I mean, I had some partial successes. One of them was hydrogen peroxide, which was quite good. But then I went to a festival, and a woman was giving a talk about urine therapy. And yes.
I've been hearing about this a lot, Dave. I'm glad you're talking about it. I always talk about distilled water with my customers. So this is a good parallel because urine is naturally distilled water.
Yes, it is. And yes, it's like distilled water plus.
Yes.
But yeah,
why plus, Dave? Why is it distilled water plus?
Well, it's because at its base is distilled water, but it's got all sorts of other things in it as well, including stem cells, which are cells that can become anything in the body, and they literally roam around the body looking for things to repair.
So this is it. Stem cell therapy is what they do for major disease, trying to recover and regenerate organs, tissues, just about anything. I mean, there's humongous research into stem cell therapy right now. So
yes, and they often say they get the stem cells from the bladder of pigs or something, or sometimes they'll say we managed to extract stem cells from your from your liver or something like that. You know, I can't remember what they say, but what they don't let you know is that your urine is packed full of them. Um,
Ah.
and you know, another word for urine is amniotic fluid. Yeah,
So
so
I've heard this too. I've been bumping into this. Uh, Urine and amniotic fluid are the same.
yes, they are. First the mother's urine, then the baby's urine.
Also, the baby urinates inside of the sac,
Yep.
and the
And
mother's sac, the bladder is emptying into the mother's sac.
yeah, there's a different process for it getting there. It's not you know, it's not literally, you know, it's the bladder emptying into no, but literally urine is just literally all the beneficial substances that are in the blood. Um, let me step back and explain what urine actually is. Okay, um, the blood goes to the liver to be cleaned, essentially. So the liver takes out all the waste, all the you know, toxins, parasites, or um, pathogens and viruses, whatever shouldn't be in the
Chemicals,
bloodstream. Yeah,
food stuff, food waste. Yes.
kind of, yes, but whatever shouldn't be in the blood, right, is taken out by the liver. The purified blood then goes to the kidneys, and the kidneys are there to keep your blood in perfect balance. So if you've drunk too much water and too much water has been absorbed into the bloodstream, then the excess water will be taken out so that the blood is not too watery and then can't do its job properly. So that's the same with you know, excess minerals, excess hormones, enzymes, proteins, yeah, you name it. All the good stuff in the blood, yeah. Whatever there's too much of gets taken out and stored in the bladder for later use. So that's, I mean, the body doesn't store waste. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
stores.
often associated with waste, and that's where it comes up with that kind of negative waste. Sounds like it's a bad thing.
Yes,
Right.
they say, well, if the body's getting rid of it, then why put it back in, right?
Right.
Well, you know, that's how it gets conflated with waste. Yeah, the body's getting rid of it, so it must be waste. No,
Mhm.
it's excess, and while it's being stored in the bladder, your body actually reabsorbs some of it as it needs it. So that's why some people get this experience where they're dying to go to the loo, and they get distracted, and an hour later don't need to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your body in that time has reabsorbed enough to take the pressure off the bladder.
Right.
So
Right.
when that storage facility gets full and
Yeah.
there's nowhere else to store any urine, the only thing it can do is dump it overboard. It's not that it wants to, because it needs that stuff, but it just, the storage facility is too full, right? So it's just a necessity. And what I've discovered is it doesn't matter if you've just gone to the toilet. If you ever need some urine, and you know, once you find out about it, you'll realize that you can use urine in so many different ways to help you. Um, like if you cut yourself, you know, if you get a really bad cut and it's bleeding profusely and it won't stop, all you have to do is urinate on it. As soon as you urinate on it, the bleeding stops, and you know, within a minute or so, it's already healed over. And you know, you keep you know, a urine soaked rag or dressing on it, and it should disappear. The actual cut will disappear in a day or two. You
Amazing. Amazing.
won't even see
Amazing.
it.
Okay, so you were at a festival and you heard someone talking about this urine therapy.
Yeah, me and my friends kind of walked into this talk, kind of like, tell us about drinking your piss, wee lady, you know. And after she started talking, you know, we were like, we're gonna have to try this. So all five of us walked out that day, and we all tried it the next day. And to my knowledge, you know, 7 years on, all five of us are still doing it.
Wow.
And all five of us have had amazing transformations, since we started. So it's been amazing.
Wow. So stem cells, protein, amino acids,
Growth hormones,
growth hormones,
all sorts of
vitamins,
hormones,
minerals, electrolytes,
antioplastins, all the good stuff in your,
anti-inflammatories.
and it's literally antiseptic, antiviral, antihistamine, anti everything.
So would you say then that urine therapy would be a wonderful way to break through a plateau with kind of any health issue or weight loss issue or even anxiety, depression, mental psychological issue?
That and more. Yeah, it doesn't just break a plateau. It's if you start with urine therapy, you never hit a plateau. You just start
Total
healing.
healing. Total healing.
Yep. The
Total
reason
life
why
healing.
is because it's your own body healing your own body, and your own body is the only thing that can heal your body. It's
Not
not
surprised at
pills.
all. Not surprised at all. When with my experience with fasting, with my experience with distilled water and fruit and all the recommendations that I make with my customers and clients, I'm not surprised that this just goes one step further coming from within your own body.
Sure.
Fantastic. So is that one of the four things then that's a part of your pillar of healing then, Dave?
Sure. That's so what happened was I started urine therapy, and almost immediately I saw the benefits, and I saw myself healing, almost overnight. I think it was actually a year on urine therapy, and I started a 30-day urine fast just to see. It was an experiment, really, just to see if and I already knew the answer anyway, just to see if I could survive solely on urine for 30 days. So I started it just thinking that, I'll literally just survive well on it.
Mm-hmm.
But 4 days into the fast, all sorts of things started happening. The nerve damage in my foot completely disappeared. My asthma, a chronic asthma that I've had since a child, which also led me to have the lungs of a 70-year-old, apparently, from a fire department medical I had a few years before. So my lungs came back 4 days into it. I was taking a walk on day 4, and I had this urge to run. Now, with my weight and my leg and my asthma, there was no way I ran. Yeah, I don't run. I didn't run, but I had this urge to run, and I ran for half a mile. And I got to the end, and I was like, I can still breathe. What's going on?
Wow.
So my lungs had come back, and my nerve damage had gone, and then for the rest of the 30 days, I lost. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how much I lost, but I went in 7 belt notches in 30 days. And I must have lost a lot of weight in a short time, because I hadn't seen my girlfriend at the time for about a week, and she came in and she was like, oh, where are you? Where's the rest of you?
In 7 days.
No, this was, I hadn't seen her for a week. Yeah. It was amazing.
Amazing. Okay.
So I didn't actually answer your question. So after the fast, I started to try and figure out why it was doing this. Why is it helping me? So I started researching urine and health in general, and it's kind of started to dawn on me what was actually going on. That your body is the only thing that heals your body. It's not pills and it's not lotions and stuff. It's actually your body. So
why don't people know this, Dave?
Because we're taught differently. We're taught that we have to rely on pharmaceuticals, and there's a good reason for that. Why we believe that. And if we get time, maybe I'll go into the medical establishment and why it is we've got it, and what it really is. But yeah, I kind of started to discover that that it's your body that does all the work, and really the best thing we can do is listen to our bodies and get out of its way. Let it get on with the job that it's meant to do, because that is literally what your body is designed to do. It's to keep itself in the best possible health, based on the circumstances we find ourselves in. So if we improve those circumstances, then our health improves, because our body will accept those better circumstances and thrive in them.
Awesome.
So I found that there was 4 things.
So urine therapy was number 1.
Well, no, actually, I categorize them not as far as the therapies, but what those therapies do. So the first thing would be to stop poisoning yourself. And that what comes under that is changing your diet.
Changing your diet. So you're saying urine therapy is one of them. Changing your diet is one of them.
Yeah. So I put changing your diet as number 1 because
change your diet.
If, for instance, if your cooker, something on your cooker catches fire, the first thing you've got to do is stop the fire. So you've got to turn the gas off. Otherwise, anything you do to try and stop the fire isn't going to work, because the gas is still on. You keep
throwing gas on the fire.
Well, no, it's not so much that. It's more like you're trying to get rid of the flames, but the gas is still on.
Turn the heat off.
Yes, you got to turn it off first.
So that's changing the food. That's like, stop polluting, stop putting pollution in, stop putting toxic elements into your body. Number 1.
Yes.
And discontinue the toxic elements, which is what, Dave?
Well, pretty much everything that you put in your body will cause your body to react in some way. Yeah. But the least reactive foods you can eat are fruit. It's almost as if we were designed to eat fruit. Yeah. Fruit is mostly water. That's the great selling point of fruit. It's like most fruits, 90 to 98% water, and that's distilled water as well.
Distilled water again, yes.
And if you imagine a watermelon, for instance, when you basically chew on watermelon, say it's 98 to 99% water, and the physical matter that's left, a very tiny amount of physical matter that's left in your mouth, well, your body doesn't have to work very hard to get rid of that. Yeah. So literally, you're not putting a strain on your body, you're not using up an awful lot of energy, and you're just drinking distilled water, essentially. So
like that water fast, right? It's like that.
Yeah.
Water fast. So just you touched on something else there that was really interesting. You said just anything that you put into your body at all. So are you suggesting then in that a lifestyle without food is possible, and maybe even ultimate for us?
Well, I'm convinced it's absolutely possible. I think it's very, very difficult in this society because it's so poisonous. Our environment is so poisonous that we're starting sort of from I don't know, at the bottom of a hill. Yeah, it's our environment keeps us in a toxic state. So, we're always having to try and overcome that. So I'm not quite sure that it's entirely possible living in this society where everything around us is poisonous. But
so you're saying, like, if we were to move into a rural area, if we were to move into the countryside or live in a cave, then this is probably where we would settle down to be most comfortable. But living in an environment where there's a lot of Wi-Fi and electrical current and chemicals, water and
chemtrails, fluoride, our clothes are leaching chemicals into our skin,
when we're so distracted by all of this toxic nature around us, that toxic nature pulls us in the direction of other toxic and
bad health.
Right.
And the thing I realized while researching my book is that there aren't any separate diseases. There's just one disease, and lots and lots of manifestations of that one
And
disease.
that's what I found from Dr. Arnold Ehret. Have you read The Mucusless
No,
Diet?
no, I haven't.
But you've heard about it.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the book that I read that was life transformational. I think I heard you talking about a book that I've heard about that was a big life transformer for you. Was it?
Man's High Consciousness by
Yes, I
Hilton
have to
Hotane.
check. I have to get that book.
I've got a
Digital
copy of.
copy?
I've got a PDF on my website that you can
Awesome.
download.
Awesome. I'll get that. What's your
Yes,
website, Dave?
it's allegedlydave.com.
Okay, we'll make sure we get that posted, and so everyone can get their hands on that.
Okay.
You said food was number one. Food was number one. I got off track with the breatharianism because I'm on this kind of breatharian kind of hunt right now. I've just moved to liquid. I've done a week, 2 weeks now of just liquids. I've eaten on the weekend. On Sunday, I've eaten, and then I did liquids fasting during the week. And I'm finding that has really jumped me up in terms of energy and clarity and insight and sleep. Like I'm not needing to sleep more than 3-4 hours tops, and my energy is unbelievable on a liquidarian diet. So I'm so intrigued by this breatharianism and being able to live with beyond food. And I really feel I spoke with a breatharian a couple of weeks ago, and there's a major connection here to the sexual energy, passion, our deepest root energy, and I wonder if you have any insight into that.
Not specifically the sexual energy and stuff, but yeah, I did a breatharian experiment.
Excellent.
I took a whole year to prepare for it. I didn't, because I didn't really know anybody who was a breatharian, or didn't really, have very much information. I just did the best I could. So I spent a year preparing for it. So I ramped down the amount of food I was eating, and the density of the food I was eating. So
How old are you, Dave? How old are you?
I'm 55.
55. You look fantastic. Go on.
Well, I feel fantastic. And if I didn't have the Hebrew Israelite, I can get away with 32.
Okay, so go on. You got ready for a year of breatharianism. Please share.
So yeah, I took then I basically spent some like 4 months as a raw vegan, and then I went to fruitarian, and then I went to liquidarian, and then I just stopped drinking the liquid. But here's where I went wrong. I spent a whole year ramping down the food and stuff, and prepared not to eat, but I didn't prepare not to drink. I didn't use the same kind of methodology on my drinking. So I started, and for the first 10 days, it was amazing. Yeah. The clarity and intuition that you were talking about, went through the roof.
Yeah, I've noticed that immediately.
I was sleeping for 4 hours, and I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and lie there in bed for 4 hours, just having amazing insights and making connections and having ideas.
Yeah.
Having to have a notepad by my bed.
Inspiration. Yes.
I'd just be writing stuff down, because otherwise I'd just lose it all, because there's so much coming.
Yes, that's what's happening to me.
Yeah. So, and what I realized was, because, sorry, I'm jumping off track there, but so that was the first 10 days. On day 9, or day 10 it was, I was going to take a walk to the nearest town, which is about 6 miles away. Take a run, basically. So I started running, and I just lost energy. I was thinking, wow, something's weird. And I carried on walking for a while, and I was finding it hard to walk. So, my intuition said, turn round, Dave, go and get something to drink.
Mm.
And, and my mind said, forget it, go ahead, you just carry on, you know, you'll get over it. So I went with my intuition. So I turned back and I got to a tap and I almost collapsed from dehydration. And so I ended up absorbing something like 4 liters of water in a couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just absorbed this water.
Interesting. Interesting.
So
Interesting.
I think if I'd gone with my head, I'd probably have died on the way to this,
Unbelievable.
because it was literally walk through the country, and I wouldn't have seen another person for days probably. So yeah, I didn't prepare enough for dehydration.
Wow.
But in that time, in that 10 days, that's when I was having the most amazing intuitions and stuff. But as soon as I started integrating distilled water into this breatharian experiment, the intuition and the ideas and everything just started to tail off.
Uh-huh.
And I realized and one of the intuitions was that my gut has brain cells. My gut thinks, but it doesn't think in the same way as my head does.
Mm-hmm.
So it thinks in terms of intuition, knowing, gut feeling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm getting this intuition that I have this source of energy low in my gut, in my lowest chakra. You know, it's been called chakra. You know, I don't know. Ooh, that's a little too crazy, but an energy center that's inside of us. And this intuition that I've been getting is that because I've been doing a lot of grounding, my bare feet on the earth, actually putting my bare feet into the water daily. So going to the lake and having my bare feet in the cold water, on the rocks, bare feet on the floor, on the ground, bare feet, and having some contact, looking into the sunlight daily. And I've been doing that for a year now, almost half a year for sure, religiously, and I'm really convinced on the benefits of gazing into the sun and putting your feet on contact with the earth, having full contact with the earth. So have you had any? Do you do any grounding? Are you into the magnetism of the earth? Are you into the sunlight? Are you into?
Well, grounding, not so much. I do walk around barefoot, as a rule anyway. But I did try sun gazing for a while, but that was actually in the middle of my my urine fast. So I
Couldn't say
didn't.
which was better, or what was.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't really distinguish that I was getting any benefits from the sun gazing so much. I got up to something like 15 minutes that I could look at the sun. So I couldn't really say,
So I'm up to 30 minutes now, that I can do 30 minutes or more, so
Mm-hmm.
I really do think it's magical. But the insight that I'm getting from it, whether it's the sunlight, whether it's the grounding, or it's this, liquidarian diet, or it's the extended dry fasting, I'm not sure. But the insight I'm getting is that the earth has a magnetic charge and a pull and a power. And it's at our root. And then, we've got our energy center in our lower chakra, in our lower belly, the base of our spine, or in our gonad area, where our sexual energy is, right? And that is the energy that is capable of producing life, replicating life. And it's the energy of desire, to love, to engage in reproduction and sexual intercourse, obviously with a partner. It's our biggest drive. It's our most it's one of our major drives of our life, to try to get a mate, to try to get a partner, to have a family, to be married, to share life with someone, to self-replicate, to have children. So there's a source of energy there. There's a source of energy there, and I'm feeling like that is at its deepest root, my purest self. And it's an energy that is also constantly being reproduced. The sperm energy is constantly being reproduced. And if you can learn how to take that energy up into your body rather than releasing it sexually, they talk about it and taking that energy up the spine. I'm not sure. This is
You're talking Kundalini stuff.
Kundalini, right. So you're
Okay.
talking about bringing that sexual energy upwards, and it's an energy that's constantly being replicated. So you're taking the sperm rather than sending it out in ejaculate. You're taking that energy upwards and lifting that energy up. So now you've got the root energy in the earth, the magnetic energy in the earth. You're touching that with your feet. You've got your central energy, your source, your individual self. And then you've got the sun, the solar energy, the power to create distilled water, the power to create the fruit, the power to create the vegetables, which are the nourishing foods of our body. The distilled water nourishes being purified by the sunlight. The fruit purifies being purified by the sunlight. And the vegetables being purified and given energy from the sunlight. The sunlight is above, giving us energy and nourishment. The earth is below, the mother below, the father above. And you in the center, you are the energy source that is between the two, so above and so below. You are the independent energy in the middle.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid I at one point I did go along with that sort of philosophy during my journey, but I've gone way away from that now. That's I would class as Eastern mysticism, which has been adopted by the New Age movement.
And you've and you've moved away from spirit. You've moved away from spirituality, or you've moved away from
that flavor of spirituality. Yes, I have. Because researching the rest of the world and how things work out in the world, I've realized that let's take this idea of the Kundalini, for instance. Well, that the New Age has got a kind of airy fairy idea of what this Kundalini thing is, and those people who say they've had this experience, you ask them, and you'll get, you ask 10 of them, and you'll get 10 different answers. Okay. But then you look into what's going on in the ritual world of the elite and all the secret societies, and well, what's really triggering this so-called Kundalini experience is don't know if I should go there, but it's a bundle of nerves at the base of your spine that's triggered by anal sex, basically, and that's why they do that sort of thing to initiates, to actually trigger this Kundalini experience, essentially to disassociate you from your body. Literally, just like certain drugs disassociate you from your body. Again, this is probably a bit too much for this conversation, but it disassociates you to let something else take control. That's what it's there for. It's not this spiritual thing. Well, it is a kind of spiritual thing, but not in a good way.
You're saying that this is going on with the elites, that they're.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the secret society initiation things, in order to essentially, I know this might be this might be a bit incredible, fantastic, that sort of thing, but demonic possession is a real thing, and we open ourselves up for demonic possession when we drink alcohol, when we take certain drugs, when we do certain practices. It's all about disassociating yourself from yourself and allowing something to slip in between. I don't know if you saw the film Get Out. There's a concept called the sunken place, where your mind And I've experienced this myself, where your mind kind of retreats inside, and you're in this dark place. You haven't got control of your body as such, and you're essentially a passenger in your own body. When you get, when you become an alcoholic, that's the experience you have, that you become a passenger in your own body and something else is in control.
So then, Dave, you've left spirit entirely.
No, I haven't actually, because
Okay, you've just got a different, an alternative interpretation of spirit, and
yes, because during my journey, I came across the flat Earth, and
so have you embraced the flat Earth?
absolutely.
Really? See, I have not done that. I've kind of chalked up the flat Earth to being potentially like a little bit of a smoke screen, and I'm not sure, because I kind of feel like the infinite space seems to me to be more in alignment with the cell, the atomic particles. It seems like a universe within ourselves, again, so below, so above, so below. I feel that the emerald tablets, I feel like there's an alignment between a consistency with the idea of eternity and infinity, and the flat earth theory, like we're on a flat plane with a bubble over top and no explanation of what's beyond that. I feel...
Well, I see this place as a bubble of 3D space and time. So, this place was created with, 3D space so we can move around, and time so that events can happen. Okay. Outside of here, which there isn't an outside, because that implies space and time. Yeah. It's a different kind of dimension where there is no space and time. Only space and time is only here. Okay. So that immortal spiritual part of you, the moment it arrived here is the same moment it's going to leave from its point of view. Yeah. So no, there isn't anything outside of here. Just like if you try and ask a scientist, well, if the universe is expanding, what's on the other side of the universe? They'll go, we don't know. If it's expanding, what's it expanding into? They won't tell you. They don't know. So it's no different. they've just pushed the problem further away.
True. That's a really good point, because that the argument of science, and science is to me like the biggest religion of our day.
Yes, it is.
Like as long as you're everyone has to be under the veil of science and has to be proven. And whereas all of the stuff that's in science is, to me, still all theory and much unproven, although it's touted as if it's an absolute fact, and by trumping it into the name of science, they can pass over just about anything as a fact for us to eat it or drink it or participate in it in the name of science. So
exactly. I mean, what they've got is assumption upon assumption upon assumption upon assumption. So, they assume something like an infinite universe is expanding. And on top of that, they put something else. They assume, well, gravity is this. So they put something else on top of that and assume. And by the end of it, you've got something that looks very, very solid because it's built on all these things.
Assumptions that are...
But it's a house of cards, because all those assumptions you can pull away, and there's nothing there.
Yes.
So yeah, it is a religion.
We've been taught these things since we were young. We've been taught these things since we were young, and they're facts that have been put into our heads. So the flat Earth, interesting. I have a friend that's been trying to push me into the flat Earth for a long time. I've been extremely resistant toward it, and I'll tell you, just mostly because I'm so passionate about this detoxification process and about the health and healing, and I found that taking that position of you can heal yourself from within, and you can heal yourself without medication. You have to go against you have to swim upstream in order to do it. That I've had so much retaliation against my food and my protocol and my detox process and my methods and my ideas about healing, that to take on or attach myself to anything else that was also just too much. I can't divide my energy further to talk about or think about or research the flat earth. I'm so in depth attached to the healing of the foods, because my business, being a personal trainer, is about healing people with exercise, nutrition, and mindset. And, I guess you might argue that having true knowledge and knowledge of the whole is a part of true healing. And my friend would argue that I've just taken it as just another big nut that I don't want to try to even carry forward, So,
Well, you know what? I didn't want to become a flat earther. There's no way I wanted to open myself up to this.
Nobody wants to be a homosexual, I don't think, by choice in this society. It's just something that it's within us, or it's within someone. So,
okay, you might want to find out about something called atrazine.
Atrazine, what's that?
It's a chemical that basically turns you homosexual. And it's been included in lots of products and lots of foodstuffs.
They're saying they're turning people into homosexuals.
Yes,
oh my God.
Seriously, in all plastics there's BPA, bisphenol A, which is artificial hormone, which is essentially almost negating your testosterone, right? So there's a chemical attack right there, and then somebody discovered this chemical which turned male frogs into female frogs, and it's called atrazine. And you'll find that atrazine is now being put into.
Now you see what happens. You see what's happening here, Dave. You see what's happening here is we're sounding like a bunch of
conspiracy theorists. That word, that phrase was created by the CIA so that people would go, oh, conspiracy theory.
Throw them in a an insane asylum. So this is it, and that's why I haven't pursued anything outside of my little box of listen, you can heal your life, and I'm sure of it because I've seen it happening in my own life, and I haven't been willing to open up the eggs of anything else or discuss or get into anything else. But what we're getting into is it seems like there's somebody outside of this whole thing. You've mentioned the elites. We talked about this. You've lightly kind of explained this aristocracy that's over top of us, maybe, that's kind of trying to lead us somewhere, that has an evil intent. You see, people have a problem with that idea.
Mm-hmm. What, that rich people would want to get together to make sure that they stay rich and powerful? That's a hard thing to accept, isn't it? Yes. But the way I'm not the sort of conspiracy theorist who runs through the street going, look at the skies, I learn these things, right? I from that knowledge I make changes to my life. For instance, I use glass bottles for everything. I try not to use plastic at all because of the BPA. It's not me going paranoid and weird. It's just me making a choice, making a switch to say, well, you know what, I don't accept being dosed with bisphenol A, so I'm going to just use glass. It doesn't mean I have to go all paranoid or anything. It just means I make a change, and I'll tell people. But if they don't want to hear, they don't want to hear. Fine, So as I've said many times, knowledge is power. If you don't have knowledge of things, then what you become is reactive. Something will happen, and you have to react to it. It's a kind of knee-jerk reaction, right? But if you have the knowledge of what's going on behind it, then you can act. You can act beforehand.
Do you engage in politics?
Not at all. Politics is theatre for the masses.
I think so too.
There's no point. They created it so that the masses who have the power. We have the power. There's only a small number of people who are doing this to us all. but they've brainwashed us into believing that the best thing to do is to elect representatives for ourselves and let them make decisions for us.
Yeah.
No,
Collect the money.
yeah, and collect our money and
Yes.
spend it on themselves, essentially. You know, but yeah,
That's my position as well.
yeah. Well, it's a true position. You know, if you wake up and look at it objectively, that's the only conclusion you can come to.
I think so, Dave. I think
You
so.
know, you just look where public money is.
We got to stop there before we go too far. I want to come back to spirit, because spirit, I'm so deeply connected with spirit here. So I want to explore this a little further, because I thought when I looked at your video before that you kind of you used to have a more spiritual stance. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
I used to be an atheist. I was an atheist for 40 years.
Yes.
But at the start of my journey, I became, I guess, what you would call spiritual. And I sort of got sort of absorbed into the New Age style idea of spirit.
Yes.
But as my journey continued, I kind of moved away from it and realized that that New Age is just another religion put there, like all religions, to capture your attention, to suck you into it and have you.
You feel it's been laid out just as kind of a modern day catch for the younger generation to try to catch them as well too, in an error of thought that keeps their mind occupied, so that they can continue to tax them and make them sick and feed them foods and get them trapped in all sorts of.
The thing about humans is that the one thing isn't going to work for everybody. Yeah, you put a poison out, it's going to kill a load of people, but it's not going to kill everybody. Because we're all different, we all work differently. So in order to entrap our minds, they have to put out lots of different flavors of religion. Yeah, so as we said, science is a religion. Yeah, it's one religion out of all of them. So's the New Age. It's a religion, just the same as Christianity, Islam, and all those. It's a created, manufactured religion to keep you away from the truth.
And what are you saying the truth is then, Dave?
Well, okay, this isn't going to be popular with a lot of people, but my research from the flat Earth took me into reading the Bible for the first time ever. Yeah, and
I've read a lot of the Bible.
Okay, well, I read it from beginning to end
Yes.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
Realized that the New Testament doesn't fit. Realized that the Old Testament is a story that goes from beginning to end.
How about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Have you done any reading?
Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls I would actually add as part of the Book of Remembrance, the Old Testament, and what's known as the Apocrypha. That's 14 books that the rest of the Bibles leave out. And that's in the original King James 1611. So yeah, I started reading it and realized that the New Testament was literally added on to create a religion around this book. And the Old Testament is literally a book of history, law, and guidance for a particular people. So, So
hold on a second. Gotta back up 1 second here, because you're saying that Jesus Christ doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Utterly, no sort of doubts about this. But
and where do you feel that you've got that sort of tangible proof from?
Well, just reading the Old Testament. The Christians will disagree, but the Old Testament or the New Testament completely contradicts the word of the Most High. In almost everything it says. You look at the New Testament and look at it from, I guess, the perspective of a police officer trying to work out, a detective trying to work out what was going on here. You find contradictions like, the genealogy of this Jesus character. Well, Matthew 1:1 starts off with his genealogy, but then you find there's a guy called Jeconias in his genealogy who was cut off and cursed. So was this genealogy of Jesus from a cursed person? Well, no, that doesn't seem to fit. But then you look again and you find that in Luke, there's another genealogy which doesn't match the other one. So hang on, which is it? But then you look further and you think, hang on a second, both genealogies are that of Joseph. So Joseph didn't contribute any DNA towards Jesus. So those are genealogies of Joseph and they don't apply to Jesus. So how can he be of the seed of Judah and the seed of David? Because it was supposedly through Joseph. But then they say, oh no, that second genealogy in Luke, well, that goes to Mary. So that makes Mary of the tribe of Judah. Well, then you look at Luke again, and it tells you that Mary had a cousin called Elizabeth. And earlier in the chapter, it says Elizabeth was a Levite, a daughter of Aaron, and she was married to a Levite, a priest. And Levites were only allowed to marry other Levites. So if Mary was Elizabeth's cousin, then Mary was a Levite. So no Judah in there whatsoever. So right there, it fails,
Lots of inconsistencies.
Yes.
Full of inconsistencies,
Yep.
which is the norm with basically everything that we're taught, and inconsistent with the flat earth and meat and dairy and everything else, medications and plastics and everything else we're taught to consume, whether we're consuming knowledge or what we're taught in school. We're being fed kind of a story that we need to get into our heads and then just consume this and share this story and keep watching other people that aren't doing it and call them conspiracy theorists and call the police on them and lock them up and join the herd to stomp them out, to stomp out evil, which is this kind of communication that we're having right now. This is evil.
The thing is, once you start looking for the truth, you start realizing, that you start getting a sense of when you're being fed bullshit. I call it my spidey sense. Yeah. As soon as I hear something, my spidey sense might start tingling, and I'm like, oh no, there's something wrong there. And you start delving further into it, and then you find, oh yes, it is. There is something wrong. That's what's wrong.
I want to we're running out of time here. I've got to cut it short. So I want to make sure I get to this. We said there was 4 things that were in your healing paradigm, right? This is where we started this. The first thing was put out the fire. Stop putting the toxic elements in. Change the food. Get to raw food. Fruits, number 1.
Number two is getting rid of the poison that's already there. Okay.
So detoxifying the system. And what's the method for that, Dave?
Detoxing is urine therapy. So drinking urine and also washing in it.
Distilled water.
And distilled water.
Distilled water and distilled water a step above urine therapy. So distilled water is what it is. And you're saying urine therapy is distilled water on steroids.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
that's a bad analogy, really.
Right, because we want to get away from drugs and medication, but just so you understand, this is like better than distilled water. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, okay. Distilled water will get rid of all the inorganic minerals out of your body.
So you can drink that as much as you can, flush the body with the distilled water, distilled water fast, or fruits are distilled water, vegetables are distilled water. So fruits and vegetable diet, raw food diet.
No, not vegetables. For the best, it'd be just fruit.
Just fruit for the best.
Yes.
Fruit for the win.
Fruit for the
Fruit for the
win.
win. Fruit for the win. Okay, number one, stop the toxic behavior, putting in the meats, the dairies, and the cooked foods. Number two, detoxify the body with fruit, distilled water, and urine therapy.
Number three is to give your body the energy it needs to do the healing. So you do that with fasting.
Emptiness.
Yes. So
bingo, sir.
The reason that works is because when you eat, it takes something like 80% of your body's energy to digest, get rid of food. So when you stop eating, literally that energy is liberated for the body to use elsewhere. And the first place it's used is to try and get rid of toxins and repair work. So
fasting is the cleansing. Fasting is cleansing for the body.
Well, not. I'd say it's not cleansing. It's literally it's energy reclamation. Yeah, the urine therapy and the distilled water is the cleansing.
More cleansing. Yeah. But I think they've related fasting with what do they call it when you're eating your own cells?
That's ketosis and stuff. That's rubbish. That's
not ketosis. But
okay.
There was a. It's called, I have to get back to it with this word now. It's not on the.
But the idea that your body.
You got to get into the science. You got to get into the science here, Dave. You got to use those science words. They like the science words.
The idea that your body is eating itself.
It's eating its cells. It's eating its cells. It's eating its dead cells. It's useless cells that they're being utilized. There was a Nobel Peace Prize was given for this in 2016 for this study.
Well, just be aware that you won't get a Nobel Peace Prize or prize for medicine or whatever if you go against the medical paradigm. Yeah,
You've got to be in alignment with the medical paradigm to be in the mainstream and in the light and in the understanding, and that's why everything that's on that side seems like it gets all the press and all the publicity and all the focus and all the attention because it's leading you down that path. It's trying to send you down that path so that you get sick. So you continue to take the medication, so you continue to consume the crap that they keep selling, so you keep buying their stuff.
Well, if I've got a couple of minutes, I'd like to say why we're in the mess we're in and why this medical system is.
Awesome, please.
Right. So in 1910, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers paid a guy called Flexner, Abraham Flexner, to go around the States and make an inventory of all the medical systems that are about. Okay, so in 1910, there were all types of different medicine, and you would go to the type of practitioner to deal with the issue that you had. So there was chiropractic, there was naturopath, there was homeopath, there was all sorts of different medicines. One of them was called allopathic medicine. Okay, and allopathic, you go to an allopath because if you had trauma, an allopathic practitioner would deal with the symptoms of the problem and not the cause of the problem. So if you got knocked down by a bus, the allopath would deal with the bleeding, the broken bones, that sort of thing, the symptoms. It wouldn't have to deal with the cause because that's the bus. So what happened was the Rockefeller family basically funded allopathic medicine to be the only medicine. So their insurance companies would only pay out for allopathic treatment. Their media companies would only push allopathic medicine. That's why you've got all these doctor shows on that show allopathic medicine. Yeah, they made medical.
It's the only accepted medicine now. It's the only accepted medicine now. It's become the monopoly.
It's the only accepted medicine.
Mainstream medicine, yes.
So the problem there, artificial medicines to make it work, and the Rockefeller family cornered the market on oil because they owned Standard Oil, and the oil market basically spawned the chemical industry, and the chemical industry spawned the pharmaceutical industry.
Oil is plastics as well too.
Yes. So literally, they cornered the pharmaceutical industry.
Same stuff. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same. Every hand's washing each other's hands, and everyone's believing that same horse shit and buying their shit and getting sick and dying. Now,
So I was just going to say the problem with this approach. It's like the engine warning light in your car going on. Yeah, you're taking your car to the garage, and the mechanic takes the bulb out. You've dealt with the symptom, which is the light coming on, but you haven't dealt with the problem. And that problem, yeah, you're not aware of it because the light's not on anymore. But the problem gets worse and worse and worse until you get a catastrophic failure, which is literally what is happening to us. You know, we're
cancer,
suppressing symptoms.
diabetes, or something comes up, and then it becomes a real problem. But we've got, before you were gaining weight, before you were having this nagging cough, before you were getting sick frequently, your immune system was giving you problems. You were having pain in your body. Your kidneys weren't functioning properly. Your adrenals weren't functioning properly. Your energy you were sleeping too much. Your mood was wrong. You were having anxiety. You were having depression. You were having skin issues. All of these things were manifesting before as early signs, and trying to tell you that something was wrong with your body. You were showing metabolic syndromes, but it hadn't broken completely until finally you get a cancer, or you get diabetes, or you get autoimmune disease, or
so you might have a stomach problem, stomach ache and stuff.
Digestive problems or headaches.
So the stomach problem is just a symptom of something going wrong. It's not the stomach per se, it's something going wrong. So what the doctor does is give you something that suppresses the stomach problem. Just suppresses it, hides it from you. Yeah. But
so it's fixed, so you're cured. Yeah, that's not
yes,
a cure.
Exactly.
It's not a cure. It's another problem. You put something else into your body.
Yes. But there's also a business model there that, once if you take one of these pills, it also has stuff in it to cause other symptoms, so that you have to go back to them to buy some other symptoms.
It goes on and on and on.
Dave,
on. What's number 4? What's your number 4 thing, Dave? What's your number 4?
Number 4, it's changing the way you think.
Change the way you think.
Yes, because all disease starts up here, right? And basically predisposes you to certain illnesses. So, certain thought patterns cause an emotional response, which is just a mix of chemicals that cause all sorts of things to happen in your body. And that chemical response, as a chronic, long-term thing, starts to damage certain parts of you and predisposes you to disease. So what you do basically is change the way you think, so you don't A, hinder the healing process, and B, you don't re-trigger the process again once you've healed. Don't know if that makes sense.
It makes wonderful sense. So the mindset is a huge portion of this, and that's a humongous portion for me as well too. So we're on different sides of the globe, but we see eye to eye there, Dave. I've got to go. I'm on a time schedule here, so I got to cut us off. But Dave, show us your book. Can you hold
it? Yeah, my book is called The Human Body Owner's Workshop Manual. I don't know if you can see it.
I want to make sure I post your website, so hopefully you can share your website with me. You can share the book title and that way how people can get in touch with you, how people can get to the book, how people can get some more of your information, get more of your content. Because I really love to share your information. I love what you're doing. I love what you do. I'd love to have another chance to talk with you again another time. Hopefully we can have some more communication. I really appreciate your time today and just get an opportunity to talk with you. I always love to speak with great minds. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome.